Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and it took a while, but we are going to finally get to the off-season JE mailbag. Before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick at JK Bogan. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is BetUS. You can get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit and 125% on your next two deposits using the code YouTube150. So if you are looking for a sports book for the big game, NHL, NBA, whatever it is, be sure to use BetUS. And as always, be sure to bet responsibly. All right, guys, let's get into it. We got our mailbag. 103 questions, comments, concerns. You guys are awesome, for real. Most we've had in the history of the mailbag. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that this was 12 days ago, but we're doing it now. And is this going to come out on a Sunday or is it going to come out on a Monday? I guess we'll find out. If you're watching this, you already know. I don't personally know when it's going to come out. It'll, either be tonight on a Sunday or Monday. Let's get into it. So starting with Watt Run It, can we actually afford T. Higgins? I see a lot of people saying we can't afford him, but how can we not when we have $50 million in cap space? I mean, this is how I look at it, okay? You can win the Super Bowl without T. Higgins. You could win the Super Bowl with Jacoby Myers, right? There are ways to win a Super Bowl. I mean, we saw the Rams team have, a great running back room, right? I mean, Darrell Henderson was banged up. Sony Michel was banged up. And, Cam Akers was coming off a torn Achilles. And they still won the Super Bowl. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have this to do that. I think a really good example of this is, let's say, can you actually afford that game console? Let's say it's PS5, the Switch 2 that's coming out, the Xbox, right? Can you actually afford that console? What is afford? Does it mean you have enough money to get? Like, I straight up have enough money to buy a PS5 right now? Like, does that what that means? Or is it, you spend the money and you still have room for other things that you can do? And I think that's really up to you. I mean, if the definition of afford in terms of NFL salary cap is T. Higgins, like just saying, can you even get T. Higgins? And it sounds like that's what you're saying. Absolutely. T. Higgins, under $50 million in cap space, 100%. They could get him. But can you afford to spend $28 to $30 million on a wide receiver? I think you can, because I think T. Higgins offers something that they just don't have right now. So it's not that, they can't actually put him on the cap. It's more so getting him. Are you still going to be able to do what you want to do? And I mean, to a degree, yeah, I believe so. So it's one of those things where this is a great question, but yeah, you can afford him. I think it's just like my analogy with the PS5, right? I mean, can you get the PS4 and have that be good enough to play a video game? Sure. But isn't a PS5 more efficient? Like, that's what you're getting at. You can go out and get another receiver and you can still get the same result of winning a Super Bowl, just like you can go out and get a PS3 or PS4 and you get the same result of playing a video game. But if you want the highest quality and you want to have the most fun, or in this case for PlayStation, in T. Higgins' case, you want to win the Super Bowl, you go after T. Higgins. You want to have the most fun, you go after the PS5. It's that simple. Michael Matthews, seeing that Ben Johnson is now the Bears head coach and the Lions DC is in New York right now interviewing for that head coach position, I think it's safe to say the Lions run is done, and I've never been more happy for it. I'm excited for this upcoming year. V8 just won Rookie of the Year. I know we're going to have Stafford back. I'm not sure what it looks like for Higgins, but I'd absolutely love to see him on the team along with Puka. I love Cooper. I hope he takes the rework and stays on the team and can retire Ram. But there's a lot of promise to this offseason and upcoming year. Also, all the cornerstones finished the season healthy. Already starting off right. Love the videos, Jake. Can't wait for the offseason. I appreciate that, Michael, from 12 days ago. That's on me. So you can tell this is from 12 days ago. We're talking Aaron Glenn is now the defensive coordinator for the Lions. I agree. I do think the Lions run is done. Now, what is that run? I think calling a run would be their best chance at winning a Super Bowl. Can they still win that division? Yeah, I think they can. But gone are the days where I think they're going to get the 1 seed and constantly be a juggernaut. I don't have a good feeling about them at all, but I kind of always felt this way. I felt like the Lions were on borrowed time. Sean McVay, we've seen him, and we've seen coaches like Kyle Shanahan who can pick up the pieces and go and hire guys, for guys that they've lost. We have not seen Dan Campbell do that, and I don't think Dan Campbell is going to have these guys playing at the level he had them last year. That's just my personal opinion, so I agree with you and appreciate the kind words as well. Edwin Rampage 39. Hey, Jake, thanks for all the hard work you do. Thank you. To make sure we are up to date with our Rams. If Kupp ends up leaving, where do you see him landing? I can see him going to Seattle because he is from the area. I hope we keep him. Second, if you were picking for the Rams in the first round, what player position would you target? Third, what was your favorite Rams moment of 2024 season? Mine was when we sacked Sam Darnold to beat the Vikings. They were truly playing for the city of LA. All great stuff. Let's take it from the top. Cooper Kupp, Kansas City Chiefs. That's where I see him going. That was the team that he was constantly linked to during the season. I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, if you were picking for the Rams in the first round, what player or position would you target? I'd target tight end / wide receiver. I take the best pass catcher available. It's that simple. If it's Colston Loveland, by all means. If it's Ibuka, by all means. I want the best pass catcher available if I'm not trading down. Depending on if they lose Alec Jackson, then that obviously changes things. Maybe it's best to go after a left tackle, but you get my point. Third, you had mentioned, what was your favorite Rams moment? This one's easy, guys. I think you know this. It means a little bit more to me than some other people. I've defended him, through thick and thin. I've stayed by him. I've said this guy is legit. He's gotten a lot of flack. I've gotten a lot of flack for putting my neck on the line for him, but just interviewed him, by the way. Check out that interview. Link is in the description, but Ahkello Witherspoon's interception against the Cardinals, it might not have been the best play of the season for him as far as talented-wise, but it was an incredible play, and in that moment, I really started to believe that the Rams were going to blow it against the Cardinals. It's one of those plays where I really think if we're going to the Super Bowl and all that, we're talking about the Super Bowl, you look back on that play as the thing that really carried them on. Having that play was so huge because they just looked dead in the water. All the momentum was riding for the Cardinals. And to win that game, allow, Stafford and co to sit in week 18 because of that result, I think that's the reason they were able to move on. I said it before, I'll say it again. Stafford was not healthy for those last 3 games, and there is no way they beat the Vikings with a banged-up Matthew Stafford. And what I mean by banged up is he is clearly injured. And if he didn't get that Week 18 off, then that might have been the case. So you never know. I really do believe that was huge. That was my favorite play. I went crazy for that. Oh, man. Shutting up the haters. We'll say that. And it has nothing to do with me. I'm more excited for Ahkello because that was a huge moment. And I've talked to people who were at the game, and they said SoFi had never been louder, which makes me feel good. Ruiz, thank you. Would you trade up for Ashton Genty? I would not. I know Kyron is great, but his longest run was for 30 yards. He's not explosive and fumbles. We just saw what great running backs does to in Philly. Hiding hurt, Stafford would benefit from an explosive running back. We can build the offense around him and Puka after Stafford is gone with a mobile quarterback. We need speed and playmakers. Genty would solidify that last draft. I wanted Verse when everyone wanted Odunze, just saying. I'll say this. I think Genty, I haven't watched him from a scouting perspective. I've just watched him watching college football. Clearly the guy is legit. But I just don't see how that helps the Rams. I mean, yeah, it helps them, obviously, because he's a really good player, but they love Kyren. They're talking about contract extension, and I just feel like we kind of get lost in the idea. Saquon Barkley is a unicorn. So, like, comparing Kyren to Saquon, I just won't do it because it's just different. You know, the reason why Saquon was left out of conversations is because he was with the Giants. Now that he's with the Eagles, who have a great offensive line, he's the best running back in the league, and he's going to be damn hard to stop for a long time. So I don't think it's as simple as, like, we saw how, you know, the great running back does in Philly. I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's just not a common thing that you can draft. And Gentry by no means looks like Saquon. Like, he looks like a really good running back in college, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's the next Saquon. I don't even think he's as fast. But appreciate that. Sean, hey, Jake, if the Rams kept 3 of their free agents, who do you believe their top 3 choices would be? Alaric Jackson would be 1. I'm going to say Bobby Brown would be 2, and I'm going to say Akello would be 3. That's kind of my vibe. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I would say. I think Alaric is their top priority. I would not be shocked to see Michael Hoyt leave. I just want him to stay. Great question, by the way. Gene, thank you. Hey, hi, Jake. Appreciate the awesome content this season. Absolutely. I want to ask you if you agree with my top 5 needs this offseason. 1, talk Stafford into running it back. He already did that, so I like that. Number 2, sign Alaric Jackson. I like that. Number 3, sign a Pro Bowl caliber inside linebacker to play alongside Spates. I like that. Draft a tight end or deep threat wide receiver or both. I like that. Sign a Pro Bowl caliber corner. So I agree with everything except for a Pro Bowl caliber corner, because I'll tell you right now, I really, like, when I say this, I'm not kidding you. I look at this cornerback class and I just don't see anybody in free agency I would take over Akello Witherspoon. I just don't. Byron Murphy should not have been a Pro Bowler. I mean, good for him, but, you know, Akello had a better season than him. He just didn't start as many games. You know, and then you have DJ Reed, who's too much like Kobe Durant and, in my opinion, way too much like Darius Williams. Akello's going to give you that size, that speed combination, the ability that he has. Like, he's basically a captain on the field, the communication. Now you're talking about potentially going into year 3, where it's 3 straight years of playing in this defense. I just don't think anybody out there is as good as Akello. This is not the best free agency class for a corner. So I pass on that. I agree with 4. I agree with 3. I agree with 2, and I agree with 1. So appreciate that, Gene. Let's keep track of these, by the way. There we go. Okay. Joshua, let's see here. For the receiver situation, you've talked about T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer. First of all, would Josh Palmer be a deep threat wide receiver 3 for the Rams? How would we acquire Wilson? Through trade, I understand, but trading what? Because you've also talked about not wanting to do the picks since we've got a young, promising roster, and I doubt the Jets will take a straight trade with an injury-prone aging Cup. T. Higgins is injury-prone, as you've mentioned, but in the situations we do sign him, he would be another guy with Nakua and Cup or a Cup replacement. I'm assuming he's a Cup replacement since he's leaving the Bengals to be more equal to wide receiver 1 or just wide receiver 1. You've said Cup is likely not coming back next year. Yeah, Joshua. So let's just start with T. Higgins, free agent, obviously. I think the Rams would have interest. They had interest in Mike Evans last year. We'll see how it goes. I'm not saying he's 100% going to be a Ram. I wouldn't be surprised if they went after him hard. Garrett Wilson. So once again, more stuff is coming out that, you know, league execs believe that Garrett Wilson is going to request a trade this offseason, does not want to play with the Jets. I think it takes a first and a third. I think you have precedent here. This is very similar to the A.J. Brown situation in Tennessee, in my opinion. So I think that's kind of what I would say, a first and a third. And then Josh Palmer is somebody that could probably be signed under $8 million a year. And I think he could be year 2, but, you know, could also be year 3. And yes, he could absolutely stretch the field. He's a great route runner as well. Can win in different ways, willing blocker, all that good stuff. Just not utilized nearly enough with the Chargers. So love Palmer. Love Garrett Wilson. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's how that would work. I think they're all fairly reasonable. I mean, understand this. I'm still not the biggest fan of just doing F them picks because I do believe that they have done a really nice job. But my biggest thing is that F them picks with that defense. I'm not trying to go out and get Jair Alexander. I'm trying to go out and get an offensive player, right? I'm trying to go out and get somebody like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, right? Somebody like that could change the game for me. This team didn't struggle defensively down the stretch. This team, well, you could argue the 286 yards rushing, sure, but the biggest issue for this team down the stretch was, in fact, their offense, and they need to clean that up, and I believe that they can use this offseason to do that. Paul, do you think Blake Corum will eventually develop into a starting running back for the Rams? I don't. I just don't get that vibe. I think he's definitely capable. It might be with another team, but I just don't get the vibe he's going to be the starting running back for the Rams. And I've been wrong before, but I'm just not feeling it at the moment. Appreciate that. Martin, looking at the defense, Jake, do you honestly think Jared Verse needs a better complementary outside linebacker than Byron Young or Hoyt, or is the pass rush too good enough in the IDL that it's not necessary? I don't necessarily think Byron Young is going to get an extension. I mean, not that I don't think it's possible. I'm not getting that vibe. But he seems like a guy that will play out the 4 years, but I like him, and I don't think there's any reason to upgrade over him. Like, everyone keeps talking about going out and getting Max Crosby. I've heard his name so many times. I don't really understand it. I mean, that's not the issue. And you could say what you will, like, oh, you don't turn down Max Crosby, but it's like, okay, but now that I got Max Crosby and I used X amount of draft picks, I can't use those to get a Garrett Wilson. And if I'm choosing one or the other, I'm choosing Garrett Wilson because he's going to help more, in my opinion, than what Crosby would do for this defense, because the defense is already really good. Jonathan, who do you think the Rams draft with the first round pick? I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to keep it. I don't know if they're going to move down. If they keep the first round pick, I think it's going to be Colston Loveland as it stands right now, but stranger things have happened. This may be a shot in the dark, but I believe we need a new offensive coordinator. We have all the weapons we need to win, but the overall progress was abysmal. What do you think? I don't think it's fair to say we need an offensive coordinator when I thought LaFleur did a great job last year. And this year, it's kind of one of those things where it's like he's not calling plays. So it's like I can't really put the blame on LaFleur. I know he has a decent hold of the offense, but for the most part, I mean, they played 6 games without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So I'm going to give him a rest there. But I get what you're saying. If it's bad again, you know, sometimes drastic measures, have to take place, and that would be the case. What happened to Bryce Perkins and Lance McCutcheon? McCutcheon, I believe, last time I checked, he was on the Steelers. Bryce Perkins, I have no idea. I don't know why he was on the Rams. He started a game for the Rams, and then the following year, he can't get on a roster. I think he's a good player. Maybe the medicals freak people out because he had the neck injury, broken neck back at the Arizona school. I'm totally blanking on that he was at, but I don't know. Perkins can play. I'm not saying he's a superstar or anything, but I was surprised they didn't keep him around to try and build him up. But yeah, oddball. Hey, Jake, love your content. Thank you. I am the first captain of the Rams Royal Guard. You met another captain, Big Sean, and he gave you a patch at the meet and greet in LA this season. Here's my question. Why don't you display it with the rest of your memorabilia or rock it on a t-shirt or hat and show everyone your loyal patch wearing member? Keep up the great work. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just have a lot of stuff you guys sent me, and not everything could fit in the, what do we call this? Backdrop. There we go. That. So that's why you probably don't see that, because I just have so many things that you guys sent me, and embarrassment of riches when it comes to just merch and memorabilia is really cool. So I appreciate you guys sending me all sorts of stuff, whether it was before I dropped my P.O. box, before or after. You guys have been incredible, sending me just stuff I didn't even know that was out there. It'd be nice to have Ram stuff in this area. I don't, and you guys hook me up with the Ram stuff in your area, so I appreciate it. Watt, run it. Do you think the Rams pick at 26 or trade down into the second round since they don't have a second round pick this year? Great question. I kind of feel like they're going to trade down in the second round. Maybe they try and move down in the first round and acquire a fourth round pick with that, and then maybe try to package that into a second round pick, 2 fourth round picks. I don't know, but I do think they're going to make a trade because they're not in the best position. Although 26th is a fine pick, but yeah. Do you think our year-to-year quarterback situation would deter a top-tier wide receiver from signing with the Rams? No stability. I think it's very possible. Very possible. But at the same time, I'm playing with Puka Nacua. I'm playing with Sean McVay, and I'm the guy that got paid already. So when they pay Puka Nacua, because it will happen, I have to feel really good about my long-term, fit there with Nacua and how he can help me and I can help him. And then I got Sean McVay, who's likely going to want a top-notch quarterback and isn't going to play games. So, yeah, I understand both sides for sure. Hey, Jake, how much do you think Stafford is worth? Play GM, make an offer. I want to see how much you think he is worth. It's tough. I think, it's really hard because Brock Purdy hasn't been signed yet. So when he gets that extension, I wouldn't want to give Stafford less and then have Brock Purdy get paid more than Stafford. I don't know. I will say this. I think he deserves up to $60 million a year. I'd probably do $60 million over 3 years. So $60 million each for over 3 years. So talking about 180. So 3 years, 180, almost, maybe 2 of the 3 years are fully guaranteed. And then the third year is an opt-in where if he wants to play and isn't going to retire, then he can just opt into the deal and play the last year of his deal. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it, but that's a great question. I want Kupp to retire Ram. We should go out in free agency and get us another top receiver. And who do you think that will be? Who do you think will be available and will be a good fit? You guys have already said it really. Like I've talked about it. Palmer, Higgins, those are like my go-tos. I really like Chris Godwin. I think Godwin might fit the offense better than anybody, but he's coming off a major injury. So, we'll see how that goes. Zach Wilson ain't that bad. I like that pick. But Trey Lance, maybe he would have to show me. Yeah, they both have to show me, in my opinion. But I want either or. If the Rams got Trey Lance or got Zach Wilson, I feel really good about it. Do you think we could retain Mac Jones? Retain Mac Jones? I guess you're talking about sign. It's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. He fits the offense. So, yeah. I would say so. Max, is Matthew Stafford the best NFC quarterback? I've been saying he is all season. Yeah, of course he is. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Final Flash 1988. We're at the 11 days ago mark. Appreciate you, man. Love the interview with Stephanie. First off, thank you. It got me thinking, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of Dragon Ball Z characters, good and bad, any form from any DBZ shows and movies? For the good guys, I'd have gone Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Sword Future Trunks, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 1 Goku. Bad guys, Kid Buu, Majin Vegeta, Cooler, First Form Frieza. Appreciate the consistent content. Go Rams. That's a great question. Ooh. I know not everybody is going to, care, but to answer your question, definitely teen Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Iconic. Then I would go with original Super Saiyan, like the first fight against Frieza, Goku. And then I would go with Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. And then who's that last one? Maybe go with Super Sword Future Trunks. When he kills Frieza. Yeah, I like those. Bad guys, Kid Buu, Majin Vegeta, Cooler, First Form, Frieza. I'd probably go with Frieza, Final Form, Perfect Form, Cell. And then I'd go with Buhan. And last but not least, I would go with Goku Black. So yeah, that's what I would say. Awesome. Steven, how were the Eagles able to break those big running plays against our defense? Was it scheming to exploit a weakness, defensive lapses by our guys, or Barkley just being extraordinary? I don't want to take anything away from Barkley. He's fantastic. But I do think, they had the same thing, heavy pursuit. I just think those kind of run blitzes, they ran the same thing, third down, about 2 minutes to go in the game in week 12, and they give up a touchdown on that as well. Yeah, I think it's just being too aggressive in that situation. I think what you were doing was working, and then you try to be too aggressive, and then Barkley houses one. It was frustrating because I thought they did a really nice job of keeping Barkley in check. That to me would fall on the play caller. I didn't love what they called on that last one. No, I don't think Ernest Jones will be back, Blair. I do not expect that. Who do you think the best players from this free agency class are? That was 10 days ago. So I think since then I put out my top 10 free agents. I'll just give you 5 that I really like. So, T. Higgins, I would say T. Higgins, Jamie Sherwood, Nick Bolton, and then 2 more. I'll give you Chris Godwin and probably another defensive player. I'll probably go with so Sherwood, Bolton, Higgins, Godwin, and Bobby Wagner. Not saying he's 100% who they will go after, but Bobby Wagner definitely deserves to be on the list. He just had a stellar season. Even though we know there's going to be a fall off, we know Father Time's undefeated. It hasn't happened yet, and so Bobby deserves a lot of credit. What Rams receiving core is the best of all time? Greatest show on turf without a doubt. Where do you rank Matthew Stafford all time? Tough one. You got Manning, you got Breeze, Rodgers, Mahomes, Brady, obviously. This is no order. This is just who I would have. Montana, Marino, Allen. Then there's 2 more. I don't know, maybe Roethlisberger and then Stafford. Stafford is in the top 15 for sure. He might be in the top 10. It's tough, but I think he's in the top 10. I do. Stafford will stay. I don't see Kupp staying, but stranger things have happened. What's your prediction for the NFL awards? MVP goes to Josh Allen. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Jaden Daniels. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Jared Verse. Coach of the Year is probably going to go to Dan Campbell. Yeah, that's all I got off the top of my head. So, and I would give Defensive Player of the Year. Right. So offensive player. So I'd give the MVP will go to Josh Allen. I would give it to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley will win offensive player of the year. The defensive player of the year, in my opinion, that would be Zach Bond from the Eagles. So I would give him defensive player of the year. Who is the best corner on this team other than Akello? Kobe. I think Kobe's a stud. I'm excited what he's going to do. 14, watch out for him. What's the worst free agency signing for the Rams all time? Cody Sensabaugh. Just did not like that move at all. Was dreadful and was cut almost immediately. Who do you think is the best player on the Rams practice squad? Well, Keir Thomas. That's what I think. I mean, he's the only one that got elevated when push came to shove. So I'll go with Keir Thomas. Which Super Bowl loss was the most heartbreaking loss? It's funny to me because even though I was older and had to do, like, I was still doing content. I was doing content, not still doing. I started doing content in 2016. Even though that Patriots loss hurt, it didn't feel heartbreaking. It just felt like I was just happy for them to be there. And I knew Sean McVay, he was going to get back. But when I was a young kid and we were living in Massachusetts, I do remember how heartbroken I was that the Patriots beat the Rams. I just, that to me, that was really heartbreaking. Yeah, I think that's the most heartbreaking Super Bowl loss for sure. If you were to win any playoff game that the Rams lost, which playoff game would it be? Like, I could change the result. The Eagles game. Because I changed the result of the Eagles game, and the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that they were going to beat the Commanders and beat them good. Would they beat the Chiefs? I don't know. I think they're capable of beating anybody, but I also think they're capable of losing to anybody. And their offense wasn't exactly clicking on all cylinders throughout the playoffs. So that's what I would say. I would say 100% the Eagles game. I would change that. And yeah, rank this safety room from 1 to 5, 1 being the best. Okay. Q Lake, Cam Curl, Cam Kinchins. Well, Q Lake, Cam Curl, John Johnson, Cam Kinchins. That is, and then McCullough is 5, which isn't his fault. This is my favorite safety room in quite some time. If Matthew Stafford retire, praying he's not going to. Who do you think takes his place? I feel McVay is the type of coach to want a veteran. I think it would be Sam Darnold if Matthew Stafford hung it up. I do. What is the benefit of extending Kyler now instead of extending him at this time next offseason? Because you don't have to worry about it. You don't have that hang over your head. The money is already on the books. It allows you to operate differently because now you know what money you need to work with instead of just having an imaginary number. This is what we plan to allocate to Kyler Williams. No. Now you have literally, this is what we're allocating to Kyler Williams. It makes your job a lot easier to manage. Do you think the Rams having slow starts to season should be a cause for concern? I hope it's not becoming a pattern. If so, the young players might just rely on late season pushes. I do think it's concerning and it has to stop. The 1 year that they didn't get off to a wicked slow start, they won the Super Bowl with Stafford. So, I'm kind of tired of that. Does Saleh going back to the Niners scare you? No, I do think he's going to have them playing good football though. So watch out for them. Blair, you should make a video called Where Are the 2021 Rams Now? Basically a before and after. Basically, like, what team are they on now? Are they still relevant? Are they still in the league? Yeah, I mean, we'll see how we do that. I mean, maybe. Will you ever bring Chris back to the lounge? Man, that was one of the best podcasts I've heard. I still rewatch it to this day for how good it was. I appreciate that, Blair. I don't think I want to have repeat guests on the lounge. I mean, never say never, but he'd be more likely to come back on the Rams channel, I would say. So, yeah. What quarterback in the draft is the best for this Rams offense? Based on what I've seen, I mean, it's probably going to be Jackson Dart, but I haven't really watched a ton. So, who knows, man? Who knows? You can tell it's late because I'm yawning, right? I don't know. I would probably say Jackson Dart because I haven't really watched a ton of quarterbacks yet. But, yeah, I'll let you know what I know. Who do you have the Rams signing in free agency? So I feel like the Rams are going to sign, they're going to bring some of their guys back. I do feel good about Alec being back and Akello being back and Hoyt. But if they sign anybody outside of, their building in free agency, I really do believe Zach Wilson is going to be a Ram. And I think T. Higgins has a shot as well as Joshua Palmer as well. Those are, my 3 guys. I could be wrong, but that's what I have there. What's the most craziest thing you predicted and it actually happened? Patrick Mahomes being a superstar. I have it on audio. It's on my Instagram. I I called into my friend who was, working at ESPN radio at the time, and he called me and he asked me, who would I take, as the number one quarterback in the draft, Trubisky, Watson, or Kaiser? And I said Mahomes, and he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh, okay, Mahomes. It never gets old. I do listen to it every now and then. It's just, I watched Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, and I was like, this guy's playing in an air raid offense and doesn't really throw interceptions. I mean, he just was the total package, and I just was like, I don't understand how teams are missing this. And sure enough, they didn't. The Bills traded, with the Chiefs and forever cursed themselves in that regard, but no team was acting like Patrick Mahomes wasn't worth a first-round pick. What do you think Patrick Mahomes needs to do to be the best of all time? I feel like people are not going to give him his flowers because of the so-called refs. I think the issue here is that I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is better than Josh Allen, but the way winning works is it helps, right? You win Super Bowls, and it doesn't matter about the stats. I mean, if you're a 5-time Super Bowl champion quarterback, but your stats aren't as good as a guy that's never won a Super Bowl, you are going to get the talk all the time. And you're going to get the leverage, and that's just the way it is. I know you've been adamant that Stafford's got multiple years left in him, but I bet 2025 is his last hurrah. That being said, I'm starting to fall in love with the idea of drafting Jackson Dart to be next in line, likely in 2026. I'm sure we could get him in the third. Curious what you think. David, I hope so. I don't know if he's going to go in the third. I mean, stranger things have happened, of course. Malik Willis, he's going to go first round, definitely top 10. He went the third. So I'll never say never. But, I do believe he has multiple seasons left. I'm not changing my stance on that. But I like where your head's at with Jackson Dart. And, Also not sure if you remember, but about a year ago, we agreed for you to come on my channel, but I never reached out with any specifics after that since I never planned it out with my partner. That being said, I'd like to extend the invite once again this offseason with a little more organization on our end, whether it's Rams offseason video or just have you work something out. And if anyone watching/reading would like to show some love to a fellow Rams fan's sports media journey, it's much appreciated. Shameless plug, but you do it too. LOL at Beans no ball. Cool. Just let me know. My DMs are always open, and we'll see if we can work something out. Let's see. How much longer are the Rams going to be this 1 year away, young, up-and-coming team? When will the moral victories after the playoff losses start being unacceptable? When should we expect them to be at least get to the Super Bowl? This year. Moral victories are out the door for me. I understand this is a fun year, and they should have gone further. No excuses next year. Get further. That needs to happen. I always say no excuses, but I always say barring injury, because look, injuries are sometimes just completely out of your control, and they can affect you. And so if they get, God forbid they have a 2022 injury season, it's not going to be good. So that's how I feel. I think this whole, moral victory thing will be out the window soon. Can you give a brief breakdown on how cap space works, how it relates to contracts? I'm wanting to see how we can pull off a T. Higgins like signing. Yeah. So the salary cap, right? The entire point of that, you have X amount of dollars that you can spend in a given season. Now, the NFL has what we call a hard salary cap, which means you cannot go over it for any reason at the start of the season. They need you to be under the salary cap. In the NBA, they have a soft salary cap, which means you can go over the number as long as it's to sign your own guys. So I do like that about the NBA. One of the only things I do like. But it relates to contracts in that, you can mess around with the cap number and everything. And get it down by doing some different things, restructures and all that. I think really what is fair to say is that the Rams, and it's always determined by the NFL, it's always determined by the NFL because the NFL makes X amount of dollars, per year. And then they decide via the CBA what it's going to be, year in and year out. Okay. So, you divide the percentage of the league's revenue by the number of teams, and then that is your cap. When we talk about cap, that is your cap. So that is what I wanted to say, as far as that goes. So I hope that explains it. But really, it's a set amount of money designed to basically limit what teams can essentially spend on given players. So that's what that is about. So I hope that explained that part. Brief breakdown on how salary cap works, how it relates to contracts. Yeah, so essentially you want to keep that number as low as you can. But I mean that's essentially what it is. A cap means it's a barrier. It's definitely a barrier. It's hard. It allows it so you don't just pay guys. You don't just give them straight up cash and they join your team. It's not like the MLB, for instance. They have the luxury tax. If you go over a certain threshold, kind of like a salary cap, but without any penalties, you go over the luxury threshold and you have to pay the luxury tax. But baseball, they don't really care. I mean, yeah, the luxury tax, cool, but if you pay it, you can still go over and you can really spend whatever you want. Whereas the NFL, you can't do that. It's really, that clear. So, that is that. Now, as far as the salary cap number for a player, it's based on a calculation that measures the league revenue and then apportions around 48% of the revenue to player costs. So the player cost number is based on benefits and player salaries. So if they get, let's say they're getting this cash this year, but then they also have a prorated or non-prorated bonus, all these things apply. And it's really, there's more to it than that, but you can make salary caps as simple as possible and just say, this is how much you are going to cost me in 2025, not your base salary. I don't care what your base salary is. I care what your salary cap hit is. If your salary cap hit is 25 million, but your base salary is 1 million, your base salary doesn't have anything to do with the cap. It is literally the cap number that is going to take away from the cap space. So you don't have to worry about all that stuff. From a simple standpoint to make it easier to digest. If T. Higgins has a $28 million salary cap hit, that is what is going against the books, not $5 million base salary. If it's a heavy, bonus incentive deal and it doesn't have a lot of base salary, doesn't matter. Focus on the number that says cap hit. That is the most important number. I hope that helped. I was wondering if Matthew Stafford retires, which is unlikely. Who would be the replacement? Sam Darnold. He's not retiring, though. If we traded Cooper Kupp, what do you think we should get in return? Probably a late round pick swap. I mean, it's not going to be a lot. If they trade Cooper Kupp away, it's to move his money. It's not for anything else. Who do you think we get in the draft first round? I would like Colston Loveland. Currently, that's who I think they would get. So that's kind of funny. Not being serious here, but Sean McVay shaking other coaches' hands like Dan Campbell or Kevin O'Connell is always funny to me, the size comparison. Evan, at Jake Ellenbogen, I hope I'm not too late, but please take a look at Savion Williams' college tape from 2024 to 2025 season. OMG, in my opinion, our red zone issues might be resolved. Hence, if Tyler Warren isn't available at pick 26. Yeah, sure. I'll take a look. I mean, I'm going to be doing all that stuff soon anyway. I'm already in the process of it. So I'll be seeing all these prospects. You're not too late, by the way. Blair, if the Rams lose Stafford due to retirement, I doubt he's retiring. I agree with you. And obviously so does now. Do you think Puka Nacua will regress? I mean, these throws by Stafford are Stafford-only throws. I don't see any quarterback that has pinpoint accuracy that Stafford does. I'm worried Puka won't be as good. What do you think? I think Puka is going to be just fine because I think the things that confirm this to me, his ability to win in man, his ability to win in zone, his ability to win in the slot, his ability to win outside, his ability to win when in motion, when not in motion. I mean, he's just a football player. He's a really good football player. When he has the ball in his hand, he's like a running back. He's just really hard to bring down. And, Kello Witherspoon said it best on my recent interview over on the lounge. He's like, Puka is different when the games start. In practice, maybe he doesn't have that same juice, but when he gets into a game, it is different. He is a different player. He is an animal. He's a problem. And so I agree. Why not is Stafford a Hall of Famer? Lots of people have been saying that only 2 Pro Bowls and no All Pros. I think Pro Bowls are stupid. I think they should be nullified in the conversation. Stafford's absolutely a Hall of Famer. The people that say he's not are just the people that will never give you a win. Like if you're like, yeah, Stafford should be in the Hall of Fame, and after he wins the Super Bowl, these people will still say, well, I need to see 2. I need to see 3. It's like BS you do. Absolute BS. Okay. What Ram had so much potential but was never given the chance? Denari Alexander suffered a knee tear. I really think he would have been a superstar if his knees weren't so bad. So I'll say Denari Alexander. Gurley or Williams? Gurley. I love Kyron, but Gurley, just a different animal, man. Tina Tuna. Which Dragon Ball characters would best represent each NFL team? Rams. Off the top of my head, Rams, Goku, obviously. 49ers, Frieza, most hated rival. Cardinals, Vegeta are rivals, but are more respected, unlike Seahawks and 49ers. Chiefs, Jiren. Seems like nobody can beat them. Yeah, I'll probably take most of that. I think like Tien and Yamcha and Krillin, they would be teams that are kind of like friendlies. Like we'd talk about a friendly team in the Falcons, talk about a friendly team in now the Jaguars, different like coaching, connections, Bengals. So yeah, I mean, I would say those. Great question though. Who do you think the Rams will get? Do you think the Rams will get new jerseys? If so, what do you think it would look like? I mean, I think it'll be black. It feels like just there's a lot of rumors out there about being black. I don't know what it's going to look like, though. Also, do you think the Rams helmet that got leaked will be worn next year? I have no idea. I saw it, and I don't know. And I don't really care. I like the current horns and everything. I'm in the minority there. I get it, but I don't know. Blair, what is the most impressive thing a Rams player has done all time? Kurt Warner, because his story is not, you cannot replicate it. So, yeah, I would say Kurt Warner. What is the best Super Bowl of all time? I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, the Rams Super Bowl wins are amazing, but I'm going to say last year. I really believe last year might have been the best Super Bowl of all time. To go to overtime, to have a team score, and then have another team go down the field, get that touchdown. Yeah, I'll go with last year's Super Bowl. It just felt different. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks and why? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I'll say Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. Those are my top 5. Reason being, Josh Allen, I still think is the best quarterback in the league. Patrick Mahomes, the most accomplished in such a short amount of time, and he's still incredible. Joe Burrow does not get enough love, dealing with a really bad offensive line, a lot of injuries, defense in general, not great. So I'd say Burrow. That's why Burrow's in there. Lamar Jackson, I know he struggled to win playoffs, but he's so dominant. He's on his way to potentially. I still think it'll be Josh Allen, but he could potentially steal his 3rd MVP, which is insane. And then so that's what I would say there. Do you think there's anything the Rams can do to get on the same level as the Eagles and Lions roster wise? If so, what? Invest on the offensive line the way they do, but I mean, to be honest with you, they're their own team. They're not going to follow anybody. That's just the reality of it. So I don't know. That's what I would say. Do you think there's anything that, okay, I already saw that. Don't know if you watch Transformers. I don't. But if you were to choose someone on the team to be Optimus Prime, who would it be? Stafford, I guess. Interesting. But yeah, I'd probably go with Stafford. While I run it, can you look at the past number 26 draft picks and see what type of talent there has been there? Tell us how you feel about it. Sure. Let's do that. That's fantastic. Let's see. 2024 NFL draft. Okay, so I guess I'll write this down too. Could be a fun little clip or something. So we got 26th overall picks. Graham Barton, the center for Bucks. He was the 2024. Okay, so 2023. We got Mozzie Smith. He's had kind of the career, not great, not bad, not horrible, 2022. Jermaine Johnson of the Jets. That's a Pro Bowler. Edge defender. Okay, 2021. Greg Newsome the second. We just talked about Greg Newsome in the last, or one of the last videos we did. 2020. Jordan Love. There's one. Somehow still not a Pro Bowler. No idea. 2019. Montez Sweat. Okay. See, we got some Pro Bowlers here. Some big names. 2018. Calvin Ridley, another really good player. (2017) Takaris McKinley, former Ram. Okay, 2016 now. Paxton Lynch. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I mean, you got some really good players. You got some not so good players. Total mixed bag here. Okay. 2015. I don't know how long I want to go here. Brashad Perriman. Interesting. Let's just find a list. Oh my God, I'm tired of having to manually do that. Marcus Smith was 2024. Okay. Dayton Jones. 2012 was Whitney Merciless. Good player. 2011 was John Baldwin, the wide receiver. Chiefs drafted John Baldwin in the first round. Dan Williams was 2010 for the Cardinals. 2009 was Clay Matthews, former Ram. Okay. Dwayne Brown, great tackle for the Texans. 2007 for the Cowboys was Anthony Spencer, good player. Then John McCargo from the Bills the following year. Chris Spencer for the Seahawks. Chris Perry, the running back. What was he? I want to say Michigan or Ohio State. I want to lean Michigan there. Chris Perry was the one after that. Then Kwame Harris from the 49ers. Lito Shepherd for the Eagles. Jamar Fletcher for the Dolphins. And Eric Flowers for the Bills. Different Eric Flowers, of course. So, yeah, that is a interesting thing that you had me do there. Very interesting. We'll see how it goes. Watton Run It asks, can you interview an NFL agent on the lounge? It'd be cool to hear how contract negotiations work, etc. I could definitely try and make that work. That is good to know. What was the most heartbreaking Rams loss for you all time? Oh, Blair. I kind of want to say the Super Bowl against the Patriots the first time. I don't know. That's tough. It's not easy. That is not an easy question. What was the greatest comeback the Rams have ever made? Didn't they come back from like over 20 points against Seattle? I'd probably go with that. How good is Jalen Daniels? If he were to get drafted next year, you think he would be a good fit for the Rams? I can't sign off on Jalen Daniels. I need to see another year of him. Really has struggled with health. So, he can't really stay healthy. So, we'll see. I don't know if he's a fit for the Rams, but I'd still like to see him. Who is the best best head coach in the league and why? It's Sean McVay. I think Reed is fantastic, but I really do think Sean McVay is the best head coach in the NFL. I just think he's constantly having to try with all new offensive line coaches and offensive coaches, defense coaches, all that, where most of these guys, they get to keep their staff. He's worked with 2 quarterbacks. He sent 2 quarterbacks to the Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been in 2 before the age of 40. He's the best coach. The culture is second to none. Best coach. Andy Reid or McVay. So McVay there. If the Rams were to beat the Eagles during that one divisional round, do you think they could have beaten Absolutely, they would have beaten the Commanders. I have no doubt. Jake, help me understand. How can we not afford to pay some of our free agents, but then turn around and pay free agents from other teams? It's not necessarily afford. It's more so the fit. Sometimes these teams, like they go through decisions, tough or not, they're just like, you know what? I don't want to pay this guy. I'll just go out and get another guy. That's just sometimes how it goes. If the Rams wanted to trade up from 26 in the first round, what do you think they could trade since they don't have a second round pick this year? What is a trade package you think could get it done? I guess it really depends on, like, as far as trade package, how far are you trying to trade up? If you're trying to trade all the way up to number 1, it would take you everything. But, if you're trying to get up to, like, even 13 would cost you a lot. You're trying to get up to 20, now that's something reasonable. 18, okay. But, 13, you're pushing it. So, yeah, you give up a first-round pick, maybe a third. Maybe they use next year's picks. I'm not really sure. Blair, if Akello played the whole season, where would you rank him? Definitely top 15. I feel good about that. He's a top half of the league starting corner, in my opinion. That's just how I feel. How likely do you see the Rams getting rid of D. Will? Feel like he played a great second half last year. Also, forget he missed all of training camp, some of the regular season. Do you think D. Rob has a future in LA? So, Adrian, I'm going to say I don't think D. Rob is back, and I do think they move on from D. Will as well. But, we'll see how that goes out. Blair, how much of Saquon Barkley's success is from the Eagles' O-line? A decent amount, but also Saquon deserves a lot of success of his own. A lot of credit of his own. Do you think we've already seen the best of Nakua, or can he do much more like what Kupp did? I think Nakua is just going to get better and better. I don't think he scratched the surface yet, to be honest with you. The best last 5 starting Rams quarterbacks, 1 through 5, 1 being the best. Stafford 1, 2, the last 5. All right, so 2, I'll say. I got to go with Goff. So Stafford, Goff, Baker, Garoppolo, Wolford. Seems about right. Okay, let's see. Why did the Rams not re-sign Jordan Fuller? He signed with the Panthers for only $5 million. He came off the season with 3 ends. Yeah, I think they were, I don't know. They were just ready to move on. He also chose them. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. Interesting question there. Sodak, Rams. Jake, love the show. Been following for years now. Do you think the Rams should trade for Michael Mayer of the Raiders? I actually really like the fit. He's still got 3 years on his rookie contract the Rams wanted in the draft previous to when Bowers was drafted. I feel a third rounder gets done. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but it depends. I don't really know if the Rams would do that. That's a really good question. How do you think the Rams... How good do you think Rams Sony Michel was? I think he was good. I don't think he was anything special, but he was better than I expected. Any chance for an AD comeback next year? He probably saw the Eagles game and saw the potential the Rams have. No chance. He's retired. He is not coming back. Jake, do you think that whoever our next quarterback is after Matthew Stafford retires will be our franchise guy like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or do you think it might be a repeat of Jared Goff? I would hope it's like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. No guarantees. I lean towards, that. Do you trust Sean McVay to get the most out of our next quarterback when Stafford passes the throne? Yeah, I trust Sean. Absolutely. Setting aside football, Jake, do you think you will ever cover basketball on a different channel, or do you have a plate full with the Rams and Yankees, or is the National Blowout Association too far gone in your overall liking as a sport? I don't see myself covering basketball. At one point I wanted to. I tried a little bit on this channel before I switched it over to permanently Rams. I just don't really enjoy the NBA that much. If I did anything, it would be strictly Lakers though. So there's that. But what are some things you would like to change in the National Blowout Association to make it better? Well, I'd like to figure out the best way to deal with the 3-point line. I think teams just jack up threes all night, and that's annoying. Load management should be banned. If you want to, if you want to shorten the season, make it a 60-game season, fine. 62-game season, okay. I think 82 games is a little too much. And I think the load management's ridiculous as it is. But yeah, I think those things, and then putting a heavy emphasis in building the draft and making it what it is. I just really don't love the way they do the draft. It's very anticlimactic. You don't see most of those guys ever again. So yeah, that's how I feel. Jake, do you think people will overreact if we run it back with the same linebacker room after what Saquon did to the Rams? To be more specific, and I quote, we need a Saquon stopper. Yeah, I mean, I could see people overreacting and freaking out. I don't necessarily think it'd be a bad thing to run it back with the same defense, but that's just me. Not sure if you are a Lakers fan, but if you are, who are your all-time Lakers players? Yeah, I am. So Kobe, obviously, LeBron. I really like Michael Cooper. I really like James Worthy. Love Magic Johnson. I'm sure I'm missing Lamar Odom, definitely. And I liked Sasha Vujacic back in the day, but I mean, that's that. I appreciate Derek Fisher. There are a lot of different ones. Does the O-line need to be upgraded this offseason? I don't think need is the word, but could they? Yeah, it could be. It could be. How do you think the Rams use Jordan Whittington next year? Will he be more involved in the offense or less? If he's not involved as much as he was this year, I'm going to be pissed. I think he goes over 1,000 if they let him. I think that's what I would say. What would you expect a trade back from 26 to look like? What can we get for that first? Trade back from 26, it depends. What is the trade back? Are you trading back 4 spots? Or are you trading out of the first round entirely? If you're trading outside of the first round entirely, then a second and a fourth maybe. But if you're trading out of the first round, you're keeping yourself in the first round, you're trading down 4 spots, you could argue, getting a 4th round pick, using 2 4th round picks or something and turning it into a late second rounder. There are different opportunities for sure that they can go with. Rank the top 3 positions you think the Rams draft with the 26th pick: wide receiver, tight end, and left tackle. Who will be the best quarterback of all time after 50 years? I think people are still going to look at Tom Brady as the greatest ever, but that's just me. Do you think the Bills lost the game themselves, or was it the penalties? They lost it themselves. They had opportunities. The play calling was very cookie cutter. I wanted them to win, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I mean, why is Josh Allen just running QB sneaks? No tush push or anything like that. So yeah, that's just how I feel there. Where do you rank Omar Speights? He's among the top 32 starting corners out of 64. So, linebackers. So, yeah, that's kind of where I would rank him. Why does everyone think Rob Havenstein is retiring soon? You don't think he can play into his 40s like Big Wit? Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think he could. He's had some injuries, and he's already expressed to some capacity that, at some point he would like to hang it up, and there has been some talk about that. So, yeah, I think that's where that comes from. I don't think the offense was mid this year due to the personnel. I think it was due to the subpar play calling at times, lack of creativity, underutilization of certain players, Tutu and Jordan Whittington. With that being said, how will free agency and the draft fix those problems that have nothing to do with the players and everything to do with the coaching? Why do you think McVay all of a sudden becomes more creative, play call better, and actually use these guys? I agree with you entirely, because I do think it is the lack of, usage of Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington. It's not really a diverse offense. You pretty much know what you're going to get. They're going to try to run Kyron Williams 20-something times a game. They're going to use, the offensive linemen well, but they're going to be throwing a lot to Puka Nacua, and when they get Kupp involved, they're going to use him over the top. They'll try and get Demarcus Robinson involved. He's a hit or miss. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's really off. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I didn't really love the play calling this year. I think it held him back to a degree, but I also think guys have to step up. I mean, fumbles, things like that just can't happen. So it's a collective effort. Do you think Verse would have been defense rookie year no matter when he was drafted? No. And the reason being is that while I don't want to take anything away from him, the 4.5 sacks, I just think is enough for like the casual audience or even the people making the decisions to overlook, what, he was able to do. So the pressures are great. I know they like counting stats. So yeah, I do think he would not have been defense rookie of the year if, say, he was drafted in the 6th round. That's just how I feel. Why do you think Verse should win defensive rookie of the year over Quinion Mitchell? Everyone's saying that Quinion Mitchell was locks all season. He's a top 5 cornerback. I think he's better. I think, Verse takes over games. The biggest thing on Quinion Mitchell is everyone said, with Verse, he doesn't get sacks. Quinion Mitchell doesn't have interceptions. He doesn't have too many. So I don't really care too much about that. I think Mitchell's a really good corner, but I also saw Mitchell get exposed. I think Jared Verse is just a bully. He was bullying Jordan Mailata, some of the best tackles in the league. So I feel really good about saying, I feel really good about saying Jared Verse over Quinion Mitchell. So that's what I'll say. Who do you think won the trade, Mavs or Lakers? Definitely the Lakers. Luka Doncic going to the Lakers is kind of a dream in a sense because, while Anthony Davis is a huge loss and does kind of imbalance their team, they'll figure it out. But Doncic now secures the future for the Lakers, before anything went south. Anthony Davis is gone, and we all love Anthony Davis. He was great. I'm not going to listen to any people telling me he's a bum and it's over. No, the last game he had over 40 points and 20-something rebounds. But Anthony Davis does have injury concerns, and bigger than that, Anthony Davis is going to be 32 soon. And when you look at Luka, who's 25 years old, it's like a new lease on life almost. Post LeBron era is going to have Luka as the forefront and the face of the franchise. And I think teams are going to have players wanting to play with him. And I think they're going to leave in free agency. And I think the Rams are, done with the days of LaMarcus Aldridge turning down the Lakers. Excuse me. I think I said Rams. The Lakers are done with the days of LaMarcus Aldridge turning them down for the Rockets. That's just how I feel. I could be wrong, but I really do think they won the trade. I think the low-key thing that will sting is trading away a guy that's been starting for them. It's so low-key that I can't even remember his name. I just think the point guard from Michigan State, I don't know why his name is escaping me. I'm going to look it up right now because it's just bothering the hell out of me. But, I just think Max Christie, there we go. I think trading away Max Christie could have kind of that, locker room morale thing. I think the Lakers could be, really hit by this early on, but this is a long-term move. Like, if they win the finals this year because they have the closer that Luka is, great. But this, make no mistake about it, is post-LeBron, and I love it because I think you're setting yourselves up to be competitive for a long time, whereas they really had everything kind of in the pot here where they were like, oh, yeah, we're just kind of going all in on LeBron and AD, and then AD will take over at age 34 maybe as the face. It made more sense to go this way. Obviously, he shouldn't have been available. He was. Lakers pounced on it. They were offered it, whatever. I think they absolutely won the trade. But that's going to do it, folks. I am exhausted. Wow, we ripped through those 103 comments. You guys are the best. So really appreciate you guys. Tried to get through it in under an hour. Again, 103 comments doesn't make it easy, but I tried. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks. All right, guys, just a quick update here. The lounge, which I've told you guys about after every single video, we are now at 6 videos. We have almost 700 subscribers. So if you haven't gotten in and checked out my new side project, definitely be sure to do that. Interviewing voice actors and athletes and entrepreneurs, musicians, all the good stuff there. Be sure to check it out. The link is in the description below. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.